Good morning. Today we're going to talk about how to be an effective team member. It seems every time I do training, people want to talk about how can we all get along? How can I get the team to work? And so I'm going to try to give you some helpful hints that I think if we own them and actually exercise them, our teams would function better. What is an effective team? Well, it is a group of people who come together who have certain characteristics. But more important, they also have a purpose. There's nothing worse than getting a group of people together and you, for what? But we found that if you come together with a purpose and if people exercise the following things, your team should function fairly well. First of all, there has to be a commitment to the purpose. You don't want to be on a team if that's not where you want to be. And my advice to you is if you're asked to be on something that's a group of people who are going to work on a particular project and this is not one you're interested in and you can opt out, then do. But there are times that we have to work together as a team and we don't have an option. Part of getting the job done is working together. We also have to have a commitment that we want an outcome and we want it to work. Many of you have to just do things to get through each day. In the case of supporting people in their residence, you know, it takes a village, let's say, to get tasks completed. And so that's a way to be a team member who doesn't feel horribly like a formal occasion to get together and problem solve, but it's pulling together to get the job done for the day. You also, if you work as a team, you have to be willing to talk about what's working and what's not working. Often what I find is that we're afraid to have that conversation with people, especially when things aren't going well. So a functioning team has to be okay about problem solving, about giving people feedback about what's working and what's not. Also, a team needs to be self-managed. In many of my trainings, I talk about what we really want is a group of people who can manage themselves without a supervisor telling them each thing to do. Most of us like to be independent. So in order to be self-managed, you know what you have to do and you go and you do it. And if you're working with each other, then you work cohesively, not against one another. So in order for a team to work well, you have to have strong members. Now, this is not always easy because we all come to the work world with different personalities, different communication styles, and sometimes we're a little on the dysfunctional side. So how do you, when you have all of that, how do you get groups of people to work together? Well, I think there's 10 qualities, and that's what I'm going to talk about. And they are, you demonstrate reliability, you communicate constructively, you listen actively, you function as an active participant, you share openly and willingly, you cooperate and pitch in to help, you also exhibit flexibility, you work as a problem solver, you treat others in a respectful and supportive manner, and you show commitment to the team. And see, all of those things, when you just listen to them, sounds fairly easy. But those aren't always that easy to demonstrate. So for example, what do you think I mean by reliability? Well, reliability is you get the job done, you do your fair share. If you agree to do an assignment, then you do the assignment. You consistently carry out your work. You're not, you can count on me on Mondays, but on Wednesdays I kind of fall apart. You promise only what you can deliver, and you deliver what you've committed to. I think a lot of times we we take on more responsibility than we can actually carry out. And so you have to be, what I call, you have to really be, use some rigorous honesty with yourself and assess, am I trying to be everything to everybody and then I fall short and then I don't look like I'm somebody that people can depend on? As far as communication, our communication is paramount. We communicate whether we're talking or not. How we carry our bodies, how we sit, how we look at a person, our facial expressions. So we communicate consistently in everything we do, whether we're non-verbally or verbally. Our facial expressions are often a big give away on how we're feeling, whether we roll our eyes, whether we don't look at somebody and really engage them. I think that we have to be really careful of. We also have to be careful about what we actually say to people. And tone. Be very careful about your tone. When you're giving somebody feedback, you've got to make sure that it's done supportively and not judgmentally. Listening, good listening, is to absorb and truly understand what a person is trying to say. I often see people thinking about what they want to say as they're trying to listen to someone else, and that's not being very, very open. So I encourage people to listen, consider people's ideas and points of views, and be careful not to want to argue or debate something. There's nothing worse than when you're trying to get things accomplished and somebody wants to debate everything that's said. Also, be open to the problem. What are we trying to resolve? And realize that sometimes if this feedback might be what I call a little ouchy, that you may be part of the problem, that you're okay with the fact that you may not be doing everything the best way. So be open to the listening without totally personalizing it. And I think a good rule of thumb is listen first and speak second. Now, be an active participant. Again, I bet I've talked to so many staff people who will talk about how people they are not fully engaged. They're not actively participating. They go to work, they sit, they work at their desk, and there's a whole host of things to be accomplished, and nobody's up doing it. Or when you're working in a committee, which is another way of working as a team, you work with somebody who's not willing to actively engage, offer to take on activities, and they just sit very passively and kind of sit on the sidelines. That's not necessarily demonstrating an active commitment to the process. In order to be viewed as a person who's actively engaged, you need to volunteer for assignments, and you need to come with a can-do attitude. Again, keep that balance. Can-do attitude, but check yourself out. Do I have too much on my plate and I'm not going to be able to really accomplish this? Share openly and willingly. Give people feedback. How do you think it's working? What's good, what's not? I think a lot of times we may focus on the bad and we don't identify what's good. In other cases, I see people who are much more able to pat themselves on the back and not necessarily look at what may not be working so well for the group. Also, be willing to give people credit when they are, they've had a great idea or they've actually done something that that made the whole difference in the process. Give people, share the credit. I think I've watched people who see somebody who is a big fan of themselves and it's all about them. That's a real turnoff with the group. So if you want to